So out of district students with Stride K-12, they can choose that option outside of the academy prior to the academy existing. Now, if we have divisions that have signed on with them, they cannot do that. So 16 of our 18 divisions have signed a contract with Stride K-12. I say that because we have had a number of students go around the offering that we have in place through the academy and try to enroll directly through the Stride K-12 website. And I'm just inserting that is now regulated by us. So anytime those come through, I send those to our divisions that signed a contract with them for approval or denial. A really important piece, because probably 100+ applications have been denied because they don't meet eligibility criteria. And I would say roughly 40 we would have lost to homeschooling. Those students would have chosen that option. They were fully, could have been fully approved. But they didn't realize they could go through their school to get that. So I do think that that's a really strong benefit of this academy, and just want to make sure everybody's aware of that, because with 16 out of 18 divisions doing that this year, we've had a number. So basically they go to the website, they sign their student up, those names are sent to me to get a division approval. So just as a side note for you all there, typically those students would have been accepted and put places out of district students. And so the state funding would have went with those students when they were accepted into that program. There is a change in out of district procedures. So we have a few divisions that take out of district students for Stride. And they are, during COVID, they put in place that a student could, use their right to refusal, the same way an in-person student can. But this year, they are going back to the original procedures, which is that if you are utilizing your school choice and you are an out-of-district student, you have to at least take the SOL test. Now, we're not saying you have to pass it, but you have to take it. And then each individual division with their in-district kids can make their own decisions there. I'm talking solely on those divisions. I think we have 4 that take out-of-district students. So just a change in procedure there. I mentioned the data earlier. And how does that relate? Remember, we now have growth as well as raw data. And so if those students don't take the test, their growth assessment in the beginning of the year, then they can never show growth on that end of year testing. So that requirement to test really is going to help that raw data for those out of district students. It's going to increase that because then those students can show growth. Again, not all of your divisions take out of district students, so it may not be, connected to yours, but just keep that in mind. They are changing those procedures, and that's a really good thing that they're doing. So we're happy they're going back to that change. I guess I felt yes.
Just a clarification of out of district for maybe our new people.
Sure.
Out of district really means out of region, because in our region, every person can take only their own students. Is that the case? So the students that's not in our region, that the ones that are out of district can take.
Dr. Weber, that's true if you signed a contract. So I think there are 2 divisions in our Region 7 Virtual Academy that did not want to recoup their students.
Okay.
So it would be out of region plus those two districts, and of course Scott County, because they're not a member. So those students could still go in to the K-12 app, apply, and be enrolled as out of district students. That makes sense?
Yes.
Okay. So I failed to mention this at the beginning, probably should have opened with this. We are starting the school year with roughly 725 virtual students, which is more than I thought it would be. I figured we would be right around 500. I was incorrect. So just for general numbers, 210 of those students are Edgenuity. 105 roughly are Virtual Virginia, and Stride, VAVA, K-12, all the same thing. We have roughly 410 in district and roughly 3,800 that we accept as out of district students. So we're looking at roughly 725 as a total for the 18 school divisions in district, and 3,800 out of district students.
Katie?
Yes.
Katie, would you mind sending us an email with that data on it, please?
I will. That'll be no problem. I'll just send you all a copy of my director's report. And that'll also have a link to that virtual data. So if you wanted to have a view of that, the SOL data for your virtual providers, that'll be available in there as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see. So something I always like to mention, you all may get this as board members, you may get this question. SOL test, VGAs, all of those assessments are taken at the local school for in-district students. So sometimes board members will actually email me and ask me that. I think they get asked that question. So just as a general note, all of those, they're our kids. They're enrolled with us. So they take their SOL tests and their assessments in-house with us, just like our in-person students would. What we're currently working on now is state reporting for these students and listing the virtual teacher of record, ensuring the division has all those students fully enrolled. We also are to the point where we are, monitoring progress. We're back to weekly progress reports. I do suspect that we will have much fewer, I guess, less students being with the need to return to in-person. So I feel like I'll be removing less students this year because we learned our lesson last year and we really enforced that eligibility criteria. So while we have roughly 725 students currently enrolled, I would say I will end up having to return roughly 25 of those students in person if I was giving an estimate based on what I'm seeing right now. So that's just a side note for you all as well. Virtual Virginia does have two major changes that I feel like are worth noting as a provider. They have new payment deadlines. Those deadlines have really shifted from the past. They are now, there's actually the new deadline was August the 5th and then November the 15th. If you have a student enrolled on those deadlines, and that's long before the course actually starts, the school division is going to be paying for those students. And I think that's really important to note because in the past it had been, if we could get up to the date of the start of the course, we wouldn't have to pay for those kids as long as we withdrew them prior to that. That's no longer the case. So we really need to keep that in mind when we're placing students with Virtual Virginia. The second one is, and this happened, you may have heard of some of this at your local schools. If we don't remove those students from the payment queue within 2 days of being placed there, those enrollments get deleted. So we had a whole host of enrollments that we thought were in the system and they weren't. So just some notes there in case you're asked. I will say that enrollment is technically closed. There is flexibility with Edgenuity and Stride for extenuating circumstances. If those are needed, we can place. It's just that we really want to ensure that state reporting is accurate and those MSC and teacher of record is accurate. And so we have to have a cutoff, but I can really accommodate any need if your division has it. And it's a significant enough need that you feel like it's warranted for a late placement. Let me see. When it comes to, I think that might be all because I'm going to save the budget. I'm going to be doing the fiscal report. Mr. Graham is not available this afternoon. So I think that is all I have on my director's report. Unless you all have any questions, I'm happy to entertain any questions, Dr. Grinstead.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? Thank you, Caitlin. That's excellent.
Dr. Grinstead, let me just jump in and provide some context to the enrollment numbers that Caitlin mentioned. I think you said 725 students from our region are part of this academy. What that really translates to is a little over $5 million of state aid stayed in Southwest Virginia instead of going directly to the providers that we partner with.
Okay. And while you're talking about the money, have all of our members paid their $5,000?
They have, yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably going to do that.
I started saying that leads into our fiscal report. If we want to discuss that, we certainly can. Let's jump into that. So we currently are sitting at roughly $72,000 with all districts paid. We have not received Edgenuity money yet. So the way that works is Edgenuity will charge the divisions. The divisions will pay the fee. Remember, the fee went up this year because a part of that money comes back to the academy. I don't know what that looks like yet. We're sitting at roughly 900 enrollments and it's $25 per enrollment that will come back to the academy. And that money is not paid to Region 7 Virtual Academy until the division pays for that. And so then that'll come back. And then secondarily, Stride pays $35,000 cut fee to the academy, and that will come at the end of this year. So that number does not have those $2 amounts included, but we'll have, there were some legal fees this most recent month because we had all the contracts reviewed and had some back and forth on a few things there. So there are some legal fees in the most recent, I guess, report that you see. And that is all. Any questions in terms of the fiscal report?
Does anyone have any questions? Okay, discussion items. Any questions? Okay.
I have a quick question, Mr. Chair. I know we talked about the last time we were together about the SOL test and comparing in general with virtual to in-person. We have a sense overall what that comparison is like.
We do, and that is in that CIP data that
Okay.
Dr. Hurt has. Roughly, I will tell you, Stride performed roughly 15% higher than the other two providers. The other two providers are sitting near each other. And there are certain, I think it's broken down actually by SOL tested area. And so there are certain areas that they maybe were higher in, certain areas that they were much lower in, but across the board, when I'm talking about Stride, it was relatively the same. And then and when I compare them to the other providers, they were roughly 15% higher than the other providers.
Cool. And so that's in the report that you're going to send. Yes. Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Okay, future items, date of our next meeting suggested December 15th. Is that acceptable with everyone?
Sure.
Sounds fine to me.
Yes.
Okay, do I have a motion? Okay, do I have a motion that we'll meet again on December 15th?
So moved. This is Becky.
Okay, have a second?
Second that.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion's carried. Do we have any other business for us to go through? And Caitlin, thank you for taking care of everything tonight.
You're welcome, Dr. Grinstead. Dr. Perigin, did we discuss anything else? I don't think so. Do we have any items for next meeting that we discussed, do we? No, okay. I think that's all we have, Dr. Grinstead.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make that motion to adjourn.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the motion's carried. Thank everybody for attending tonight. We do appreciate it.